JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F125, and you can see we have been challenged to a 1v1. This is against Carl_24. Many of you probably do know who he is. Make sure you check out his channel down in the description. Someone I race with in my league, and at the time of this video, or potentially even still right now, because this was a couple weeks ago, he is the fastest driver on PlayStation, especially in the time trial one lap. At this point of recording this video, he actually has the most world records on PlayStation, so I guess that kind of does tell he was the fastest driver at the time. That might have changed. There are some other very, very fast drivers, but when we did this 1v1, he was definitely the benchmark, and I thought I would accept this because this would really show me where I'm at, especially in the raw pace. So we're going to be doing 4 races here. We agreed on all the tracks. This track here was probably my weakest out of the 4. The other 3 are very, very good. And yeah, we just made sure these are tracks that we have done plenty of laps on, so it's not a hugely unfair advantage. And yeah, in this first race here, Carl was just very, very fast. All the setups I am using in this video, if you click the join button, become a YouTube member and join my Discord, I've actually uploaded all of my setups around every single track that I use for online 5-lappers, 50% races, league races. So hopefully a lot of you guys have been enjoying that. Also, if you want to speak to me directly, that is the best place to do it within my Discord. You can DM me, ask me as many questions as you like. And in this race here, I think I was definitely running a little bit higher on the downforce, so as we approached the end of these 5 laps, I kept on getting closer and closer, and you've really got to factor in dirty air when it comes to setups in this game. The car was running definitely a much lower wing setup here, which is going to be better for a time trial, like a qualifying, but as the balance shifts in my favour when the tyre wear kicks in, I actually started to gain quite a bit of confidence, and considering he's got the world record around here, to actually be keeping up with him and staying within the DRS, I was actually pretty happy with. So for the first race, he took the win here, which is something I was expecting. But now we move on to Silverstone, and this is actually both of our favourite tracks, believe it or not. So this should be very interesting. Around here, I don't think I've actually lost a 5-lapper around this track so far, and especially in 1v1s. And again, if you are a competitive driver watching this, and you would like to 1v1 me, then actually comment down below in the comments and let me know your platform, your game tag, your ID, and I may consider doing more 1v1 videos as well, because this is actually very, very fun. And myself and Carl, we have very different driving styles. He's very good at the qualifying, he's very aggressive with his driving style with the really aggressive flicking technique, which is very beneficial with the TT and the qualifying. In the race, not quite as much, still effective, but when the tyres go off, I think because I'm probably a little bit more smoother and slower with my movements, that actually really helps with tyre wear, and when the tyres drop off, that actually puts a little bit more of the advantage towards me. And I think Carl was very good at leading races, and I'm very good at actually being behind people, not so much leading races, but being behind people, managing my battery and deciding when to overtake, things like that. So I'm going to be behind Carl probably most of these races. He enjoys leading, and right here now in this lap, it just kind of gives me a good opportunity to see where I'm actually faster than Carl, where I can actually follow in the dirty air, and what his strengths and weaknesses are. This is something I do quite a lot in open lobbies as well, and when I do league racing practice with people like Carl and other people, it's actually a pretty good insight into, before we go into a league race, of where I'm actually stronger, and if I do get out ahead of him, where I really need to maximise. So going through a soft chicane, this is actually a little bit of a weakness for me. So you see he gets a really good exit coming off here, but the first and second sector are very, very strong for me. So moving on to the penultimate lap here, this is coming towards the end of lap 3. This is the point where I thought actually I might need to overtake him in this lap, because I actually felt a little bit more comfortable being the lead going into the last lap, because I felt I was good at dirty air, but Carl, with his little bit of a lower downforce setup that looked like he was running, I knew he would be struggling a bit more in the dirty air than me, and I know I'm pretty strong in the sector too. So over here you see we still have quite a bit of the battery remaining, and this is the point where I thought, well, I need to really overtake him. So using all the battery here, try and force him to use his as well, so you can see he is actually using it, but then decides to turn it down, otherwise he'd just be running very, very quickly out of the battery. So now we're into a lead, and this is the section where I thought I'm very strong, and I knew that he might be suffering a bit more with the dirty air, and really need to win this race, because this is probably, I would actually say it's the strongest track out of the three in terms of pace, but it probably is my favourite track out of all the tracks here. So very important to get a win on the board. So go through this section. This is where I know he would be struggling quite a bit with the setup I run here, which again is available in my Discord. This is very, very good dirty air. You can see he was struggling quite a bit with dirty air. Now he's using quite a lot of battery, so we're not going to use the deployment, force him to use his, but then with this extra downforce, we can just stay around the outside to then get inside into the chicane. So you can see he's trying to go around the outside again, and because of that, he's actually used quite a lot of the battery. And this is something I say to people quite a lot. It's not just about your pure pace. You've also got to try and put yourself in other drivers' shoes. Try and predict how much battery they have, how much battery they've been forced to use. Try and actually force them to use more battery than they would like. So I knew I had quite a bit of a battery advantage at this stage. I think he's actually uploaded all the footage on his channel as well, if you want to watch his perspective. But I knew I had quite a bit more of an advantage with the battery, so as long as I stayed ahead here, I was pretty confident going through the rest of the lap I could stay ahead. So going into this corner, you can see we've still got over 50% of this battery. The downforce, the more the tyres go off, the better the setup actually becomes. So I typically run a little bit higher downforce than most people compared to like a TT. And again, I know most of the time I'm probably not going to be qualifying on pole and leading a race. That is typically not the way my races go. I normally am coming from behind, so I always kind of factor that in. So this is going to be a little bit better on the tyre wear, but it's going to be a lot better in the traffic as well. And you can see, go through here, we didn't get that perfect, but you can see he's struggling quite a bit dirty air. We have quite a lot of battery to use here, so we're going to try to force him to go around the outside, because I know I've got a lot of downforce here. So he tries to go around the outside, and you can just see with the grip of the setup we have with this extra high downforce, you see dirty air there, he doesn't have any battery left. And all we have to do is just navigate this final chicane, and yeah, really manage that race pretty much to perfection there, coming out just on top. So that's now 1-1 between us. So now we'll go move into Austria, and I would say this is probably the best setup I have on the game right now. And a lot of people who are in my Discord, you might be very surprised of the wings I'm running around here. So it's probably going to be a little bit evident in this video. So again, Carl is out in the lead. That's something I think definitely excels in. When it comes to league racing, when I'm racing against Carl, you definitely want to make sure he hasn't escaped the DRS and he's within traffic. You see, if he's within traffic and I'm within his DRS, very well possibly we could be beating him. But if you let him have a gap, this is where he is very, very good. So making sure we stay within the DRS, not overusing the battery, because right now it's all about who wins on the last lap, not about who's leading on lap 2, 3 or 4. And you can see with the downforce I have how much I'm actually gaining on the braking, and the tyres actually go off very, very quickly around Austria. And you'll see here on this lap, his straight line speed is actually really, really good, but under the braking and during the corners, look how much we gain, and we're not really getting affected by that dirty air. That's because I could confirm I was running probably like 10 more wing than him, which a lot of people think that's crazy. But in the qualifying, you will lose a little bit more compared to like a lower downforce. But you can just see these corners here, when his tyres are going off more and more, I'm just getting more and more grip. The balance is coming towards me much more. And you can just see we're able to follow him really, really well. Almost on 100% of the battery. You can see he's actually starting to slide around, struggle a little bit more. And he actually has the world record on Austria. I think he did this before we just jumped into this race here, as you can see here. And that just shows again. So coming into the last lap, see we're almost on 100% of the battery. He's had to use quite a bit of the battery to try and keep the gap. You can see he's saving battery here. And we're doing the same, but we honestly don't even really need to do it that much, because we've got 100% of the battery. And now it's just about choosing the right time to overtake. So he wants me to overtake him into here, but then he would probably get the DRS on the exit. So we're going to go wait behind. A little bit of DRS checking here. So kind of like a Piastri-Norris situation. You want to make sure you're before the detection. So coming into this turn 2, we play a bit of DRS checking here. So this white line, He breaks a little bit before me, so now he's going to get the DRS on the exit. But because I get the extra downforce, I actually get much, much better traction. Luckily, I closed off this gap. If he got into that gap, that would have been absolutely game over. You look at it straight up speed, look how much faster he is, but with the downforce, we've got down the inside. We've just got so much more grip. He's locking up, he's run out wide, and with the extra grip, the extra traction, going into here, using the high downforce, we're just going to drive around the outside. Even though it's a longer line, with that extra grip, he isn't able to carry as much speed. You can see we get the move done, round the outside, and yeah, he has a lot lower downforce, but we have quite a lot of battery still to use, and unless we make a huge mistake here, it's going to be 2-1 to myself, coming through this last corner. We get the move done, and we manage to take the win at Austria, which is both a very good track for us. So that is 2-1 to myself, coming down to the final race. So Carl can't actually win this now, but he can tie it up. So Zandvoort, I would say, in terms of pace, it probably is my strongest track of the game in race conditions. So this setup that I've uploaded as well in the Discord is very, very good. I've actually uploaded this or updated this 2 to 3 times now, and again, it is very, very good. Wouldn't be as good in the TT, but online, and you'll see just how I'm dealing with the dirty air around here. You really need to tweak your setups to factor that in. If you know you're probably not going to be on pole, like I know myself most of the time, because the people I race with are very, very quick over a lap, I know I'm going to need to be really good in the traffic and in the dirty air and really manage my tyres to try and extend the stint as much as possible. So that's what I factor in here, and I could already see when Carl was behind me that you can see he was actually struggling quite a bit in the dirty air. So this is probably the track out of the 4 I didn't mind actually leading every single lap. So like going through these corners, this is where I would actually really create quite a bit of a gap to Carl. So go for his long left hand, he gets so much dirty air through here. We take a little look behind, you can see, look how far behind he is. He's actually almost about 6 tenths down on us. So but it's just going for his last chicane. It's actually these last 2 corners, these are my weakest corners. If I could just do this last corner well, I always kept on messing up this last corner. You can see missing apex quite a bit there. So if I could just start to nail that corner, it would almost be impossible for people to actually overtake us around this track. But with the straight line speed he has with the DRS, we're going to defend this, because ideally I want to be leading. I don't want to be behind going into this track, that's for sure. So we keep that move, manage to maintain the lead here as we move on to the penultimate lap. Again, going a little bit wide here. You can see we're still able to save quite a bit of battery, so when you have more raw pace, you don't actually have to use as much of the battery you think. We're going to have to go defensive once again. Quite a late move going today. He tries to come in outside. This time he's actually much further ahead, and I think he's done just enough to stay ahead of us now. So that is not ideal. We actually wanted to be ahead going to this last lap, because I knew if I could stay ahead into turn 1 on the last lap, then it was pretty much going to be impossible for him to really overtake us unless we made quite a big mistake. So going through this section, we're going to have to save a bit of the battery because we've used quite a bit to defend here. But with the setup, we're just able to actually not lose too much time in the dirty air. So through this section, he was really, really struggling. But when I'm actually behind cars here, we don't really get too much of a dirty air. As you can see, we're actually staying quite close here. And this is exactly what we need. So go for this last section. This is my weakness. So go for this right is good. This left is not too bad. Need to work on the traction on the exit of this corner, but it's this last corner where I really need to start doing better. So this time we actually get it pretty well here. Now we're going to have to deploy all the battery. He's going to be doing exactly the same. So whoever comes out on top going through here is pretty much almost going to be winning this race. So is he going to go defensive? Not completely defensive, so we go around the outside, and just with that extra grip and a little bit more, I don't know if we have more downforce because it's pretty much max downforce here, but we just that confidence to go around the outside, get the move done. And at this point, I thought, that's it. We've basically won this race now, unless we make a bit of a mistake. And that would have then be 3 races to me, 1 to Carl. You can see make a little bit of a mistake here, so running a little bit of the grass, trying to save as much battery as possible, just to defend. Go to it, because there's really no overtaking opportunities go through these corners, especially with the dirty air. There's no way he's able to get anywhere near close enough and come off the exit as long as Tander. And we use a little bit of battery. You can see he's actually quite far behind, but we should have used more battery to create even more of a gap. It's just going through this section. This is the section where I need to actually improve quite a bit going around this track. And coming through here, he's not super close, but going through this last corner, we miss the apex again by quite a bit, running a little bit of the curb. This time he's actually really close, using the ERS. The DRS is actually surprisingly powerful around here, and coming across the line, how close is this going to be? Coming across the line, he's won by 0.007, 7 thousandths of a second, if I read that right. Not gonna lie, that was actually, even though I'm laughing, it's actually quite frustrating, because I really wanted to win that, genuinely really wanted to win that race. But overall, I think it's probably actually a fair result. We're very equal with the pace, and for me to hang with, I'd say, the fastest PlayStation driver right now on this game, I'm very happy with that. So in the end, it was 2-2 against myself and Carl. GG to him. Make sure you check out his channel. I'll be doing many more videos in the future, or potentially 1v1, so comment down below. Again, if you like access to my setups, or you'd like to speak to me directly with any questions you have, click that join button, become a member, join my Discord, visit www.coachlewis.com for any coaching with me, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.